Hi, my name is Marta. I'm very glad you're here. Thank you for spending time with me. In today's video, I will be talking about the first half of the books I read in March. I used a B5 TFOC Journal, and if you want to see me update the March yearly spreads, you can click on the video link above. To start with, I am creating a spread for And Now Back to You by PK Borison. I don't usually match my stationery with the cover or with the theme of the book because that gives me too much pressure. I'd feel like I never have enough stationery for my vision and that would hinder my creativity. So instead, I tend to approach all my spreads with an open mind and I go with what feels right that day. In this case, I used this gorgeous sunflower pet tape. I had to consider where to place it and I landed on bottom of the page and top of the page. I also used this blue daisy washi tape and I think it is very whimsical and cute, and I alternated its placement with the sunflower one. When I want precision in the cutting of the washi tapes, I tend to use the X-Acto knife. I used some stickers from this cottagecore sticker book, and honestly I feel like this is one of my best purchases. I always print the book cover with my home printer, and in terms of sizing I always set it as 6 centimeters height. I also put a border around it with a color that complements the cover to make it stand out a little bit more. This book is the second book in the Heartstrings series. The first one is First Time Caller, and every time I read a book from a series, I create a label with my label maker to signify that. I capture the name of the series and then the number of the book. You can peel off the back of the label and it becomes a sticker, so it is very handy. In terms of writing, I always start with the first sentence of every book, and then I proceed to write about the book itself and how it made me feel. I use spoilers in my writing, so be careful with that, but I keep my voiceovers spoiler free. So what is this book about? This is a contemporary romance book and we follow Jackson and Delilah. Both of them are featured in the first book and we know they have some sort of rivalry between them. Jackson is the meteorologist at the radio station and Delilah is the meteorologist at the TV station, and both stations share the same parking lot. The two of them are pretty much opposites, but of course share a passion for the weather. They are forced to spend some time together due to their work, and what starts as a complicated situation slowly turns into something deeper. As it tends to be the case with PK Borison's stories, it focuses on growth, second chances, and figuring out what you really want for yourself. It has a warm, emotional tone with a strong focus on character development and connection. In terms of rating this book, I designed a rating system at the beginning of the year and I called it FOREST. FOREST is an acronym and it stands for feelings, obsession, relationships, environment, style, and tension. So out of 5, I gave And Now Back to You 3 for feelings, 3 for obsession, 3 for relationships, 2.5 for environment, 3 for style, and 2.5 for tension. Once I add all of these scores and divide them by 6, it gives me an overall 3-star rating. Next one up is Shy Girl by Ballard, and I only used one page for this spread as I didn't have much to say and I wasn't a fan of the book. In terms of stationery, I tried to keep it very feminine and soft. I used 4 different washi tapes with pink tones and I layered them at the top and at the bottom of the page, again using the X-Acto knife for precision. I glued the cover in and then I added some flowers underneath to make it look a little bit more interesting. Unfortunately, the best thing about this book was the covers actually, as it has different ones and I love all of them. As I was reading the story, something felt very wrong. It felt odd and unnerving. The author kept using the same sentences over and over again, but this wasn't done in a purposeful way. I did some research afterwards and it confirmed my suspicions, which is a little bit scary to be honest. This book is from a US author, but it was first published in the UK. In April this month, it was due to be published in the US and it has been cancelled. And it has also been pulled from UK shelves due to concerns around AI being used to write this story. Because of this, I won't be talking about the plot of the book. I really don't think it is worth your time. I gave it 2 stars overall, and in case you are curious, 1.5 out of 5 was for feelings, 1.5 for obsession, 1.5 for relationships, 2 for environment, 0.5 for style, and 2 for tension. Then we move on to A History of My Brief Body by Billy Ray Belcourt. I used only one page for this one as well, and in terms of decoration, I used 2 different washi tapes that complement each other. They were part of the same pack, but this time around I used them vertically rather than horizontally. When I use only one page to make a spread, I want it to be very clear that I am journaling about 2 different books, so I try to choose very different colors to decorate the pages. I took the cottagecore sticker book out again, and I chose a handful of stickers that I thought would go well with the washi tapes. For the title, I decided to use one of my stamp sets, the one I use the most, and I stamped it all in capital letters. I added a couple more stickers, and then I realized I had not taken into account the space that the book cover would require. So then I had to glue the cover down and rearrange the stickers. Luckily, I was able to pull them easily. Sometimes it can be a nightmare, but it wasn't in this case. This book is non-fiction, and it is as far from Shy Girl, the book I mentioned earlier, as they could get. I feel like Shy Girl made me dumber, and I wasn't smart enough to fully understand A History of My Brief Body. This is a collection of essays that blend memoir with cultural and personal reflection. The author explores identity, love, and what it means to exist in a body shaped by history, community, and experience. The writing is poetic and thoughtful, often moving between personal moments and broader reflections on society. Throughout the story, I felt like I almost grasped the ideas and concepts being introduced, but I kept falling short. I don't use the Forest rating system for nonfiction books. I gave it 2 stars, but again, this falls more on me and my limited intellect to fully connect with the book than with the author or the book itself. I also added a B printout on the bottom left-hand side of the spread because this book fulfilled the March reading prompt for the Buzzword cover challenge. This is a challenge hosted by Kayla over at Books with Lala. The prompt was action/movement, and we have someone running on the cover. I have a video where I choose what books I will be reading for each prompt, and I will link it above in case you want to get inspired. Next one is Naomi's Room by Jonathan Aycliffe, and we are back to 2 pages per spread. I used this moody floral pet tape on the vertical edges of the spread, and then I had a little bit of a crisis trying to figure out what other elements I wanted to add. None of them really seemed to work. The floral pet tape felt so decorative on its own that it was hard to find something to pair it with. But at the same time, the page was feeling too sparse if I was not to add anything else. I eventually went with these purple circles that you can layer together. They are very fun to use and they are pretty versatile. I initially thought going with the blue color might work better given the book cover, but then I pivoted to the purple ones. I glued in the cover, and then I added the logo for the map of stories, the annual Readathon hosted by Leandra, the TBR0, because this book fulfilled the March Whispering Well prompt, which was child on the cover. I make a space for the forest rating system, and I add the title and the first sentence of the book. Naomi's Room is a psychological horror novel that starts with a deeply unsettling premise and slowly builds into something much darker. It follows a parent dealing with the loss of his child, but as strange events begin to occur, the story shifts into something more disturbing and eerie. The atmosphere is heavy and tense, focusing on grief, fear, and the unknown. This book kept me captivated and engaged from beginning to end, and it had a handful of disturbing moments that were very entertaining to read. In terms of the forest rating system, I gave 4 out of 5 for feelings, 4 for obsession, 3.5 for relationships, 4 for environment, 3 for style, and 3.5 for tension. This means that overall, I gave this book 4 stars. Now we are moving on to the last 2 books that will be featured in this video, and I used 1 page for each of them. The first one is You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White. In terms of decoration, I went with these 2 layers of checkered washi tape placed vertically, and then I went through a dark and moody sticker pack I got a while ago, and I chose a couple of stickers that I thought would go well together and with the washi tape. For some reason, I thought I read this book as part of the Buzzword title challenge, hence the B printout, but I got it wrong. So I proceeded to glue in the cover, peel off the back of the stickers, and glue in the B before I realized I made a mistake. But the thing about scrapbooking is that most of the time you can fix the mistakes, so I managed to remove the B without damaging the paper, and then I covered that gap with another sticker. I write the title and the first sentence of the book. You Weren't Meant to Be Human blends horror and speculative elements with themes of identity and transformation. It follows a trans male character who gets pregnant and feels fundamentally out of place. And the story explores what it means to exist in a body or world that doesn't feel like it belongs to you. There are quite a lot of layers to the story and themes of coercion and abuse, so be mindful of those before you pick it up. It is not an easy read by any means. In terms of the forest rating system, I gave it 2.5 out of 5 for feelings, 2.5 for obsession, 2.5 for relationships, 3 for environment, 2.5 for style, and 2.5 for tension. So overall, I gave this book 3 stars. The second book in this page, and the last book I will be discussing in this video, is called Esta Herida Llena de Peces by Lorena Salazar Masso. This time around, I stayed clear of washi tapes and pet tapes and gravitated towards scraps of paper that were part of the same pack and as such have a higher chance of going well together. I looked for scraps that were not too big, and I played around with the placement and the patterns until it felt right. I glued in the cover at the top, and I was able to use the B printout that I previously glued on the other spread by mistake. Esta Herida Llena de Peces fulfilled the Buzzword challenge prompt for March, the title one, and the reading prompt was this or that. For the title, I used a stamp set again, but this time around I used both upper and lower cases. The N letter didn't stamp properly, so I went in after the fact with a pen to tidy it up. As always, first sentence of the book, and then I write down my thoughts. I read this book in Spanish. It is written by a Colombian author, and it is a literary novel that follows a journey along a river. It's told through the perspective of a caregiver and a child. As they travel, the story slowly reveals layers of emotions, memory, and unspoken truths. The writing is very atmospheric and reflective, focusing on relationships, identity, and quiet tension beneath the surface. The ending was unexpected and it kind of made me stare into the wall for a while. If you're in the mood for a book that discusses what motherhood can look like, what motherhood means, this book might be for you. In terms of the Forest rating system, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 for feelings, 2.5 for obsession, 3.5 for relationships, and 3 for environment, style, and tension. Overall, I gave this book 3 stars. Next week, I will be talking about the other half of the books I read in March, but I am curious, how is your reading month going? How was March for you? How is April going? Were you able to find any gems? If so, please share them with me. March was a little bit of an underwhelming month. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you are being kind to yourself. Bye!